All right, we're back and we have two special guests with us today. The first, a world-class surfer, CT standout, and perennial top 10 finisher. In 2025, she rang the bell as the winner of the Rip Curl Pro Bells Beach and had a career season, just missing out on the WSL finals. She represents DHD, Bonsoy, FCS, Sunbum, Acciona, Safestyle, and Atmosphere. In addition to being an Elite Tour star, she's cultivated a number of projects outside the jersey, including her upcoming film Nordborn, which dives into heritage, identity, and the way a surfer can find themselves by looking backwards as well as forwards. And joining her is a talented photographer and filmmaker who followed her all the way to the edge of the North Atlantic and brought that vision to life. A filmmaker with a gift for turning the quiet, soulful side of surfing into visual poetry. Ladies and gentlemen, we have with us today the Sunshine Coast's and Denmark's Isabella Nichols, as well as Denmark's Jakob Ager. Thank you guys so much for joining us on the lineup.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thank you.
That was an absolutely stellar intro.
It's been a couple of weeks for me since I've done a podcast, so we're getting back into it. But I'm interested to get into this off season. I'm interested to get into this project, Nordborn. First things first, I'll start with Isabella. Where are we speaking to you from today, Isabella?
For the first time in many months, I'm actually back at home on the Gold Coast now. Sunny Gold Coast, very different kind of atmosphere to where Jakob is now. We had a 35-degree day yesterday, almost peak summer conditions. But also very terrible surf conditions here on the coast. So I've just kind of been like jet setting, been to Bali, been to Perth, tried to avoid being here as much as possible, but now I'm back.
And what about you, Jakob? Where are you if the weather is the same as Isabella said?
I'm back home, so I'm on the west coast here in Denmark, right on the edge of the North Sea. I can hear the ocean out the window, and it's just as horrible right here as it's nice in Australia. It's so cold. I was out surfing today. It's like five in the air and eight in the water. So it's chilling down here. We're going into winter season now, which is a good season for surfing, and that's when we filmed Nordborn too. But it's tough. Days are short. It's dark. It's cold. It's windy.
I think that's one of the naughtiest pieces of like the information age with the internet is like everywhere has got tough times, but now we're just so bombarded with like, hey, check out what's happening in Indonesia, check out what's happening here. And you're going, man, like everywhere is just really rubbing it in at the moment. But that's a really good segue, Jakob. I mean, Nordborn is frankly just a really unique concept in filmmaking, specifically in surf filmmaking. And this project is tracing Isabella's Danish roots through cold water surf culture. You know, it's interesting. Obviously, surfing happens all over the world. It happens in all sorts of climates. But the brochure to kind of mainstream society is like bikinis and board shorts and sunshine and warm water. But that's just not everyone's reality, and that's not really where all the best stories are. And Jakob, I'm curious from your perspective where this film project kind of started and where that relationship with Isabella started.
So I think it basically started. So I knew about Isabella, of course, because she's half Danish, and we follow her here and we follow her on the tour. And I think most surfers here know who she is. So I was very surprised one evening. We were just talking about, was it January last year or February? Like end of January.
Yeah, during Pi.
I get this call or I get a message from Kurt. So Bella's manager being like, "Hey Jakob, we wanna go and film some stuff in Denmark. Do you wanna do the project?" And I'm like, "Is this a kind of a joke? What is this?" And suddenly, I think the same night we were talking online, we were like having a FaceTime, and we were sitting in the couch at home, and my wife was like, we were just sitting and watching TV, and I was like, I think I'm gonna go and have a FaceTime with Isabella Nichols right now. And she's like, what? And yeah. So we went, and then that's where they kind of pitched what they wanted to do, that they wanted to come up here, and Bella wanted to surf cold water for the first time and asked me if I was on board, and we just ran with it. I was so excited. So yeah, that was the first kind of meeting and the start of the project.
That's awesome. And, Bella, I know we've talked about this a little bit in the past, and probably not on the podcast, but we speak regularly enough. Your connection to your Danish roots and representing that on the world stage. Is that something that you've been sort of not focusing on, but even thinking about from the time that you were a very young professional surfer? Or is that only something you've dug into a bit more as time has gone on, maybe with the advent of the Olympics? I'm curious how it started for you.
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I feel like my Danish heritage has always and this is actually a line that we've used in the movie, but it's always been a part of who I am. And for some reason, Europe always seems to bring me back and pull me back in. And every time I go, I feel like it feels like home for me. And I've only really ever been to the east coast of Denmark, which is where Copenhagen is. And I was born around within 30 minutes of Copenhagen. So I'm very much used to the city life in Denmark. And still I'm not a city girl, but the vibe that you get from Denmark, and I've sworn this over and over to people who have asked me about it, it's I genuinely think it's one of the best places in the world. If you look at the stats, they are the happiest people. They have free healthcare, free university. They have this word called hygge. And I don't know, you probably know how to explain it the best, Jakob, but it's it just feels like a warm hug. And that's kind of the meaning behind the word. And it's very much what you feel when you go there, from the people, from the place, from the food, the culture. And we would go every year. I would tack on a Denmark trip to the end of every Spain trip or every France trip. And I'd go see my grandparents before they passed away. My cousins live over there. And every time I go, I'm man, this is I really need to get to the West Coast at some point. And it was never something that really was in the forefront of my mind until about 4 years ago, when I realized the possibility. I actually was speaking to another surfer, Caius King. He's also born in Denmark too. And he was telling me about surfing on the West Coast. I'm this could be a really cool little adventure for me. And I never thought about making it into a movie at all. And funny, the way that this whole thing eventuated was as you know, I've had 2 really hard years on tour. And I got to a point come the first event of this year in Pipe, and I was I feel I need to do something different and kind of move out of my lane of just competing, because it wasn't necessarily making me super happy at the time. So I remember sitting in my home in where we were staying in Hawaii, and I made this little pitch. I fully made this little PowerPoint presentation of exactly how I wanted this film to feel. And originally I wanted it just to be a little 10-minute clip, just to kind of, for people to kind of understand where I come from and my reasoning behind why I want to do this. And I felt it could be a really cool little project. And then through a mutual friend, we found Jakob, and we jumped on a phone call, and immediately I was this is the guy that I want to do this film, because he showed us a project that he'd made previously a couple years back, and it was exactly what I imagined. As you guys will see when you see the film, there's a lot of beautiful landscapes in Western Denmark, and he really portrays the beauty of it so well. It's not just a surfing film, it's also a film about the culture, the beauty, and the people, and he's captured it as well as I could have hoped or imagined. So I'm stoked that we linked up. It's been one of the best things.
That's awesome. And Jakob, that term that Bella was referencing before, can you, 2 questions, expand a little bit on that? And then also, your experience as a filmmaker, you've probably covered a number of different subject works with a ton of different talent. How was it working with someone like Bella? Because to hear her describe it, it sounds like she came in with at least a pretty concrete vision of what she wanted to achieve, which probably isn't always the case.
Yeah. So first of all, hygge is I want to say it's a state of mind where it's coziness, but it's I think because the winter is so long and it's so cold and it's just rainy and snowy and dark, and you just kind of need to figure out a way to make it more pleasant somehow. And then you go into this state of hygge, which is just you light candles and have cozy blankets and drink hot chocolate, and everyone's kind of on the same page that we gotta create this hygge vibe to get through this winter. So I think that's where hygge came from. And the other working with Bella was so fun. Like, it was so cool. It all happened so quick from the call. We jumped on the call till we were filming was like 3 weeks, I think. And first of all, I was kind of panicking because it's like you call up and you want to. She said, like, we have 4 days. Or Kurt said, we have 4 days where we can film this between stops. Like, I think you're in Portugal and going somewhere else, and we have 4 days. And like, our surf here is very. I'm sure we'll get into how the surf is here, but it's very like you have windows of surf where you will have like 1 day in a month where it's really good. So being here 4 days and kind of expecting there to be surf was like, oh shit, I don't know what I signed up for. But it was crazy. Like, I think we were really on the same page pretty quickly about what we wanted to do, and it was kind of a mix between like Bella's kind of vision and then my vision of. I think we were pretty well aligned in terms of we wanted to both show the story of Bella coming home and kind of experience cold water surfing and cold water on herself for the first time, but also we wanted to portray the local community and kind of give a little peek window into the people surfing around here. And we wanted to intertwine those stories and kind of show the beauty of the area. So I think we were pretty much working on the same page from day one, which was super cool. And we were kind of like paving as we were driving down the road. We didn't really know what was going on because the weather was changing around so much, and which every day we're trying to, okay, where can we go? Who can we call? What can we set up? How do we make all this make sense? And how would you create a storyline where traditionally I prefer to have a whole script like lined out before you start. And that's kind of how you know you're going to get a good product in the end, is like everything is meticulously planned out. And here it was the complete way around. It was like, what can we do? What makes sense? And how do we build up some kind of story here? And by the end, I think we were all just pooped, and we weren't sure what we got. And we thought we have like maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes. And it turned out we had like 30 minutes of quality stuff. So we were able to build a really cool story and kind of really get into what we wanted. And I think, I'm super proud. And I think we really created what we wanted and what we set out to do. So yeah, cool process, but a crazy process.
And to expand on that too, like Jakob said, he was the guy that like paved the way for this film. We came to him asking to film, but the way that he came together with the day we arrived, he had like the 5 days planned out already of exactly what we were going to do. So there was I feel like he brought structure to the film that I didn't have and I didn't know how to do. And that's obviously through his previous experiences. But there was one day where we hired a sauna, or drove it down to the ocean, and then went saunering and swimming in the ocean. It was like 2 degrees and like 50 degrees. And Jakob was, this film wouldn't have happened without him. And he very much carried the team a lot. And it was a big 4 days. It was massive, actually. I remember walking away from that and I was exhausted too. But all of my results ended up following from that trip. I think because I satisfied some little deep down childish, excited part about surfing in my hometown and creating something beautiful. And then I feel like things just became a bit more free for me.
I think I can just expand on that, Isabella, last part was that I think I saw how excited you were to surf in Denmark, but I also saw how you kind of, I don't want to say struggled, but you were not having a great time. Not in the beginning anyways. It was really I think you really throughout the 4 days, you kind of go through this process of realizing, okay, this is actually what cold water surfing is. And it's that cold, and it changed so quickly within you over those 4 days. But just seeing that little development, I think by the end you were kind of calm and okay, this is what it is, and I can do it, and this is what I'm going to take from it. And I think that was a really cool thing to see happen right there over those 4 days, was you getting there and be oh, we're going to go cold water surfing. And then from the first day, you're what the hell is this? and then slowly.
Well, and when we say cold water surfing, I got the conversion table out too, just for our non-metric listeners. But like, what's the water temperature, air temperature?
So
that
it's
we're
just
talking about?
above freezing. So it's like So you were there in March, beginning of March, which is the coldest that it gets in Denmark, and then the North Sea, which we are on, will be around 2-3 degrees.
That was it. And
so
in the
2
air
degrees
too, 2
Celsius
degrees.
is 35 degrees Fahrenheit for mostly the Americans, but that is freezing. That's just above
And
freezing.
then it's
as Jakob
just
said.
howling winds all the time. It's just like windy all the time and raining and miserable.
And Isabella,
These guys
like,
are
what kind of equipment? Like, I'm thinking like wetsuits. Like, how thick of a wetsuit? Like, and you ride Darren Hanley Designs surfboards. Like, did that factor into be like, hey, I need a different kind of equipment even to surf at like a high performing level because of these conditions?
Well, it's funny because as Jakob said, like the trip literally came together within 3 weeks. So like we had the plan and I knew that I wanted to like fit it in between an event. And the only time that it really worked for my schedule was before Portugal. And I'm pretty sure it was after Abu Dhabi.
Yeah.
So we had about 2 weeks there. And I remember I was on the plane back from Abu Dhabi and I was looking at Surfline and I'm like, oh my goodness, there's actually a swell coming to Denmark. Like, as you know, Jakob, it's like it's rare to get like a solid swell come through. Like, and so for it to like kind of pan out to be exactly in that time zone or in that little time gap that we had, it was just kind of it just worked out really perfectly. But I was in a 5'4", hoodies, boots and gloves. And the one mistake that I made on day one, anyone listening who wants to go surf cold water, don't use finger mitts. So you can get the full mitt that covers all 4 of your fingers. Highly recommend doing that because I came in after day one and I actually thought that my fingers had fallen off. As you'll see in the film, I'm tortured. And then Jakob's partner, Sophie, actually let me borrow some of her full hand mitts. And then from then on, I was having a blast. Like the only thing that I had to worry about was like this little gap in my face where I just tried to duck dive as little as possible. But I feel like I adapted pretty quickly. The one thing that never got easy was getting in and out of the wetsuit.
Right.
Anyone who has to deal with that, it's an Olympic sport. Like it's pretty hardcore. You burn a lot of calories getting in and out of a wetsuit in Denmark. I reckon I had to eat like multiple pastries just to keep my body weight
We ate a lot of
to a
pastries.
normal level.
That's a silver lining piece there. Like,
100%.
like Bella, I was thinking of this as we were talking about the film. You're talking about the film, and it's probably like a function of like modern life in a lot of ways, but I think it's particularly unique in surfing is like most surfers on tour, and hell, like even most staff members at some point, there's a little bit of a element of like, this is going to be my life. I'm running away to join the circus, and I'm, as a result, not particularly engaged in like where I came from or what I did, etc. And as most of us enter relative middle age, you're way younger than I am, but like you start getting really interested in like, what was my family like and where did we come from? And I'm trying to find these puzzle pieces to figure out, like to get clues in terms of my psychology and behavior in the present. And I'm not saying that's kind of what drove you in this film, but it does feel like being a professional surfer, it's such a nomadic lifestyle. There is a sense of being unmoored from a lot of things. And I'd imagine that focusing in on your heritage and reconnecting in this way, even if it was unintentional, is pretty grounding in a lot of ways. Can you comment on that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I think the first memories that I have from Denmark are when my mormor, who is that's my grandma, when she was still alive, she would actually go down to the ocean in the middle of winter and it was totally frozen over. And they had like this Viking group, they would call them. And they would all, they'd bore holes in the ice and go skinny dipping every single morning. And for me, that was just such a fascinating part of the culture of Denmark because they're just so tough and resilient. I feel like that, I felt like maybe through my surfing career, I was just getting a little bit, not complacent, complacent's not the word, but I just felt like I needed to find some resilience from some other part of, from some other part of me. I didn't know where it was. And I didn't really know or think that this Denmark trip would really be such an educational trip for me, and something that was so enlightening. I kind of hoped it would be, but I wasn't quite sure. I thought it might be a fun kind of trip. But for me, like by the end, as you'll see in some of the interviews, like the things that I learned about myself, about like how resilient these people are, and how giving they are, like the culture in Denmark, the thing that I found like the most wholesome was the fact that like, so say going surfing on the Gold Coast, everyone's like fighting like tooth and nail to get a wave, right? Like I'm there trying to practice and get better for my sport and my job. And I just like, sometimes it can be quite torturing. And then you go to somewhere like Denmark where everything's just a little bit more difficult, but everyone is just so freaking friendly. And I remember like the first surf that I had, I stood up on a wave and it was like not even a great wave, and I did a teeny little turn, and like Tilde and Ollie and all the people who you'll meet in the film, they were just like hands in the air, hooting and yelling. And I think I found a community where it felt like I really belonged, and I loved being a part of. So for me, like, I don't know, I always knew about the culture and the people, and I just, to experience it like within my profession, but also like at a deep level, I think that's what really like helped with the rest of my year. And I'm still buzzing about it, as you can tell. I'm so stoked on how the movie turned out. It's something that I'm going to be able to show my kids one day and be like, hey, look, like this is my first time surfing in the place that I was born. Like, how freaking cool is that?
Awesome. I don't want to spoil too much of everything here. So everyone definitely go check out Nordborn. It comes out the first week of December. We will include a link in our show notes. We're going to take a quick break to get a word in from our sponsors. And when we come back, we're going to get back to Jakob and his biography, talk about the future for Isabella, and much more. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the lineup. I am Dave Prodan here with Isabella Nichols and Jakob Ager. We're talking about their new film, which is coming out the first week of December, Nordborn. Jakob, I mean, we'll get to Isabella in a little bit, but I do want to talk about kind of your background before you and Isabella linked up, and like, what was kind of your bio? Where'd you come from? What was like family life like? And how did you get into filmmaking?
Sure. Yeah. So I grew up right here. So I'm from the West Coast in Denmark. And my family is around here. And I grew up in a little town 20 kilometers away from where I am now. But after high school, I was kind of fed up with being around here. Like Denmark is so small and tiny. It's an awesome place to live, but it's kind of, you've seen it pretty quickly. So after high school, I moved to Norway, it's kind of our mountains where we go to ski, and where we go to be in the mountains is Norway. That's the closest destination from here. So I moved there just to spend a season as a skiing instructor, but I ended up staying there for 5 years. And that's also where I kind of picked up a camera for the first time, shooting skiing and river rafting and mountain biking and stuff like that. And that's where I got my first jobs. So I started out as a still photographer, and it's actually still what I mainly do is still photography. But then after Norway, I moved back home and I did film school back here in Denmark. I kind of didn't really know what I wanted to do, and I was never really that good at going to like uni or school at all. But then I found this program that was like a short film school, like 3 years. And I thought, that's perfect. That's what I'm going to do. And I applied, and it was kind of a hard process. And I was pretty surprised to get in. But I got in. And then I did the first 2 years. And then I did an exchange program to Canada, where my wife is from Canada. So I met her before this. But then we moved there. And then we spent 5 years in Canada. And then we came back here 3 years ago to kind of settle down and start family here and on the coast. Yeah. And now I'm working.
And so how did that life I was just going to ask you real quick, how did that life, maybe it was from when you were younger, how did it intersect with surfing? Were you surfing as a youngster?
I grew up sailing and surfing here on the coast.
Amazing.
Yeah. And then, so I think from day one of my photography career and my film career, those were already intertwined, because it was kind of, I started out just by shooting what I wanted like just to show people what we were out doing in the mountains or on the coast and shooting our adventures. And then that slowly got into like kind of sponsorships and paid jobs for brands and companies and stuff. And then it slowly evolved. And then I've been working professionally for the last, I think this is my 10th year. That is my full-time job.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. And I mean, like, obviously equipment's changed a ton over the span of all of our lifetimes, but, you know, surfing as a young person on that coast in that kind of weather, like, how long were you able to surf? Like, what kind of equipment were you using? Like, how different is it today for you?
I think so. When I remember when I was younger, we didn't really have winter suits. I remember having like just like a 5'4", and then we got a hood on a vest, but we didn't have it wasn't like built into one at the time. So we like duct taped it around here. We had duct tape around the hand so the water wouldn't get in. So it kind of turned into like a semi-dry suit. And then we were surfing in these like homemade winter suits. So those have definitely gotten way better. Yeah, but yeah, I don't remember. We weren't, yeah. The gear has definitely gotten way better because I don't remember us being out for that long that we are now. Like now you can go, if you have like a nice 6'5" and you have your mittens and your 7mm boots, you can be out for like, we'll be out for 5 or 6 hours if the surf is good. Because you got to be there when the surf is good here. You can't like just go out for an hour and then expect to come back the day after and the surf is still up. So you got to, when it's there, and you got to go out and you got to milk it.
Yeah. Isabella, you know, you mentioned a few times, like, such a busy year. It was your best year of your career on tour, right? I mean, started with a 5th at Pipeline. After that, EMEA leg in Abu Dhabi and Portugal was when you worked on this film. And as you mentioned, it was so recentering. You came back and it was runner-up in El Salvador and first place at Bells Beach, and then the rest of the year was very successful as well, like a couple of 5ths across the Gold Coast and WA, a 3rd in Jeffreys Bay, and then, you know, as we mentioned, just missing out on the finals. Like, such a busy year, and we're a few months removed from Tahiti. We're a few months removed from the WSL finals. You know, where do you kind of view this year at in terms of your career progression? You know, is it something where you feel like you're going to be building year over year, or was it unique in a lot of ways?
I mean, I'm hoping to build year after this event, or after this year, sorry. It was definitely like one of my most memorable years on tour for sure. And I think I definitely attribute a lot of that to the fun trips that I did in between. Like right. The year I qualified for the tour, I managed to do a lot of surf trips that I really found a lot of joy from that weren't just competing. And then the results followed. And I feel like going to Denmark, it almost feels like a kind of similar vibe for me. Like I went there and then results kind of followed. But I don't know. I feel like I've been working hard for many years, and sometimes things just don't work out, and sometimes things do. And it's literally just a matter of like little 1%ers, and whether that 1% was like going back and rediscovering my roots and meeting new people. Like the people I met over in Denmark are some of the most incredible people that I think I've ever met. It's hard to describe unless you go and meet them, but I'm hoping to build on this year. And I went away like straight after Tahiti finished. Obviously, that was really bittersweet for me because I wanted to make top 5, and it's always been something that I've said openly is like my goal is to make top 5, and to come so close. Like I remember, drawing Vahine in the round of whatever it was, round of 16. Right. I remember just going, why? Like, why? This is so hardcore. But I still went out there and I got like one of the best backhand barrels that I've ever had, which says something because I'm by no means experienced at it. But I packed up shop. I went through a bit of grief for a couple of weeks, packed up shop, went to Indo, and then parked up at Macaroni's for 2 weeks and went down to Wave Park, down at Playgrounds as well, which is another left barrel. And feel like I made definitely a lot of progress in that area that I felt like let me down this year. but it's all a matter of learning and getting better and improving and like finding those little things that we can always get better at. And I don't know, the youngins coming up now are so scary. You just gotta I think it was crazy. Like everyone in the top 5 was under 22 or some crazy stat like that. I remember hearing that at, when they were in Fiji. I'm like, I'm just a mere 6 years older than that, but right. I got so close. But yeah, they're definitely keeping us on our toes. I know that a lot of the older girls on tour can definitely say the same for that. But what now with Carissa coming back, the average age will definitely pull back up a little bit more, and hopefully some of the other girls are going to come back too, like Joanne or Steph. So, but yeah, no, I had fun. I had a really fun year this year. I enjoyed it. It was bittersweet, of course, but like all in all, looking back, I'm pretty happy, and hopefully we can move up a couple spots next year.
You mentioned Carissa returning. By the time this airs, there might be a few more announcements of surfers returning on both the women's and the men's side. It's really interesting when you look at your CT career, right? Because you mentioned that there are younger surfers coming up, but with the likes of Carissa, with the likes of Steph, between them, they've got 13 world titles, but both of them started on a tour and were developing their own surfing to get to the tour at a time when the CT women's didn't really have, a pipeline or a Fiji or a Tahiti regularly on tour. Whereas someone like yourself, since you've been on there, I think 2021 was your rookie season. And in that timeline, those have been sort of regular fixtures on tour for the women. So it is interesting, right? Because you've got young surfers who that's all they've ever known, looking up to the CT is like, those are events that they have to get better at. They've got surfers like yourself who are a little bit in the middle where you're like, well, this has been my experience. And so I know where, I have areas I can improve, and going to Indo is like a very specific, reminds me of Mick Fanning, back in the day when he qualified, he's like, this is an area I got to work on. I'm going here for 6 weeks. That's all I'm working on. And then you got surfers who, again, might be returning, and maybe it's not that you can't, learn new tricks, but it might be something where they go like, that's just not a muscle that I developed coming up. So I look at 2026 as really interesting, especially with the increase on the women's side to 24 surfers. Not so much a question in there, but I guess you mentioned feeling a little bit older than these younger surfers, but you're not at all in the grand scheme of things. I feel like your career is sort of right in the middle at the moment. How do you look at your career trajectory on the CT?
It's funny that you mentioned that, because I obviously qualified through COVID. Well, I qualified and then COVID hit the very next year. Right. And we had all of these events which is still on tour, but like Snapper, Maui, and all of these waves I wouldn't necessarily say are soft, but definitely not as gnarly as Pipe and Chopu. Sure, yeah. And I qualified, obviously growing up, that was all I knew of the world tour, and everything got cancelled, and then everything changed, suddenly we had to surf Pipe, we had to surf Chopu, we had to surf Sunset, Cloud Break as well. And it was never something that was on my mind at all. And I'm from the Sunshine Coast, which is like a 2-foot beach break. Can get better for sure. There's definitely waves, but it's a beach break. And it doesn't prepare you for what Chopu is really like. It's wild. So I feel like I've always been chasing my tail in a way of okay, these girls that have come through, they've seen that this is what they have to do. And I guess I've been given just the same amount of time. But in a weird way, when I was younger, I feel the care that I had about throwing my body over the ledge of a thick wave definitely I wasn't as scared as the older you get. It's almost like this instinct in you. It's harder and harder to fight it. And I've really been trying hard to fight it, and it's been one of the biggest challenges of my career is just go, don't think about all of the things that can go wrong. But now it's cool. The boys obviously have had 20, 30 plus years of okay, we have to surf chopes. Let's go here when we're 10 years old, and let's have it. Let's have a go. Whereas the females haven't had that. But now we're starting to see the next generation of females who have grown up knowing that that's what they have to do. They're coming through. We got Erin, even seeing Kalia, Miss Chopu out at Chopes this year. I think she's 12 years old. It's so cool. And so we're going to see the next generation of females absolutely charging. And you know, Carissa and Steph also absolutely charged too. Like Carissa won the first women's pipe event, right? When it moved
Right.
from Maui to pipe. So she knows exactly what she's doing. She's one of the best out there. And I think it's pretty cool that she's coming back, actually. It's showing that females can have kids and come back and return to a sport that they love. And I think it's only going to pave the way for more females to do the same.
That's a great point. Jakob, you know, you spent some very close time with Isabella during the making of this film, and obviously staying connected post-production on it. I'm curious for if you can share with our listeners out there, like, what is one thing that you experienced just working in such close quarters with her on the film that maybe people didn't realize before?
Oh, that's a good question. I think, especially sitting here in Denmark and like kind of watching the tour and watching everything, it seems so far away. Like it's almost like this mythical land of people that we never meet and spots that we never surf unless we travel really far. So kind of just meeting Isabella and seeing that she's a completely regular person in terms of everything, and I think that was super cool. And it just like we were living together for 4 days and we never met before, but it just felt so natural. But I was kind of like, oh, is she gonna be this like high profile person that, you know, this athlete type that you can't connect with in any way? But it was just like meeting a new friend, and she could have been anyone. At least, I mean, she's not anyone, but it was just a kind of the feeling that it was just a completely normal connection. And it's just cool meeting your idols and meeting these people that you kind of look up to, and then just connecting and being like, oh, this is not like, she's not different from me in many ways. So that was super awesome. Yeah.
It's well said. I always think that, like, with projects like this, and I can't wait to watch it myself, it's like, you know, I think like a lot of times we try to like deify like celebrities, regardless, like athletes, entertainers, etc. But like it's projects like this where when you do humanize them, what they actually do in their craft, and in this case it's surfing, becomes more superhuman, because you're like, wow, that's someone who is ostensibly just like me, but look what they're able to achieve.
Exactly,
so I think those are like the most inspiring projects.
Yeah.
So
and
let's we'll take one more quick break. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, if I can just go on that. So we had in the film, we go and we hang out with the local surf club, and Isabella meets a lot of the young people here. And I think that was just kind of building onto that. I think that was a big eye opener for them, that they all have it inside themselves. It's not like you need to be this like mythical, like everyone, if they put their mind to it, if they put the work in, if they really go the extra mile, like it's possible for everyone to go there. And these people who actually made it are there because they put in the time, they put in the work, they did everything, but they weren't handed anything special. They weren't like, they're just like you and me. And I think that was a super cool part to the movie, like just like Isabella sitting down and talking with the young surfers from around here, and she could share her story, and they listened. They really did. So that was cool.
Very cool. We're going to take one more quick break to get a word in from our sponsors, and when we come back, we will wrap it up with Jakob Ager and Isabella Nichols. Don't go anywhere. All right, welcome back to the lineup. I'm Dave Prodent here with Isabella Nichols and Jakob Ager. Their film Nordborn is going to be out the first week of December on streaming services. We're going to put our link in the show note. Everyone should check it out. You know, Jakob, at this point in the year with the film coming out, I'm curious how you view your role. I mean, obviously we're talking about it. We want people to see it. Like, what would be a success for you in terms of how this project's received? How do you look at it through that lens?
I think for me, it's mostly about getting the story of the Danish surf community and Bella connecting with that community out to as many people as possible. So we've arranged a lot of screenings here in Denmark that I'm really excited to take part in starting next week. So that's going to be super fun, and we'll try to connect not only with the surf community, but with just all the like the Danish people in general, So that's going to be super fun, and just kind of spreading the word on the cool surf we have around here. And then I'm of course excited to see what people from not Denmark think of the movie, and if they tap in and see what we're up to up here. So that's going to be exciting to get some feedback from places that are not Denmark.
Very cool. And do you have any projects lined up for after, the Nordborn project's released and received?
Right now, it's been a crazy year for me, so I'm kind of going into kind of a hibernation few months here. We're gonna spend the January on Sri Lanka and surf there. So that's where my mind is at right now, and then we'll see when we get back.
I love it. And Isabella, I mean, if for people listening, if you had to give them one reason to check out Nordborn, what would you say?
One reason to check out Nordborn, if you want to watch some hardcore people suffering in some challenging conditions, it's very different to your normal surf film, the reason why I really wanted to make it is because I've always been drawn to the suffering of cold water in a way. Like I love watching people like Freddie Meadows and Oliver Hartkop, who's in this film. I love watching their edits because it really is something that I'm not familiar with. So if you want to experience surf culture in a different way, go check it out.
It's a great reason. And we talked about your off season so far, obviously, working in Bali, the film coming out. We're still a few months away from the start of the 2026 CT, which starts, in April with 3 events in Australia. Like, what does it look like for you in terms of preparation? Do you give yourself a break? Have you given yourself a break? When do you start dialing up the prep? And I'm curious what it looks like between now and, I guess, Easter weekend when we're all back at Bells Beach.
There is a lot of time between now and Easter. And after Chopes, there was a lot of time. I'm like, man, what am I going to do with myself? I haven't had this much time since COVID. And even COVID still felt like a forced break because you couldn't go anywhere. So now it's like, I've almost felt like I've been kind of running myself into the ground on purpose because I don't know how to slow down. And it's been like 3 years now for me where I haven't stopped. So the norm for me is just to like pack my bags and keep going. So I'm hoping like come December, I'm actually going to go to Albany for Christmas. My twin sister lives down there now, and she's recently pregnant. So we're going to take the whole family down there and visit her. And my brother's actually doing the drive from Gold Coast all the way down to Margaret River as well. So we'll meet him there. But I'm hoping to try and learn how to slow down. That's something I haven't learned yet. And everyone tells me that it's definitely a good skill that I probably should try check out. But other than that, like I'm just going to be dialing in boards. I'm going to be doing trips to Bells, doing trips to Tahiti, hopefully Cloudbreak as well. Like I've got those 3 spots, and also Pipe as well. I'm keeping an eye out for those, and hopefully if a swell comes in those at those breaks in a certain period that works for me, I'm going to try to a strike mish there. And I don't know, I always feel like I need to keep moving forward. I think for me this off time is going to be learning how to stay stagnant for a little bit, because it's going to be a big year next year. I can guarantee that it's going to be a long one.
Yeah, no, that's very, very well said. Before we let both of you leave, we did put out feelers for questions from the Instagram followers at the Lineup Pod. We got a bunch back for both of you, but we've whittled it down to 2 for you, Isabella, and 1 for you, Jakob. First question, Isabella, is from at N_Larbus, who asks, do you think it's important to add aerials to your surfing style on the CT in 2026? Good question.
I think I think airs are definitely going to come into play. I don't think I've ever had a heat where I've had someone throw an air and land it against me. I know that it's something that I really wanted to try and tap into when I was younger, but I ended up hurting myself quite a bit. So for me, I kind of just felt like if I got my rail and face surfing well enough, that it would get me through enough heats. But I think as an up and coming surfer now, like you're going to need to put airs into your repertoire and it's kind of like I look at them as like a get out of jail free card. And if you're stuck in a situation where there's not many like scoring opportunities on the face, you can just throw an air and get a score. But I think yes, if you're up and coming, if you're, I mean, I'm making excuses for myself. I probably should do it, but I don't know if I will. Who knows? Maybe the next 4 months, but yeah, I think soon females are going to have to be taken to the air for sure.
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I remember it reared its head on the men's tour a decade or so ago too, and it was like, it's very interesting to see how the surfing world responds, because I think there's surfers on tour who have such strong weapons anyway. They're like, I don't need that. Like, I'm actually, the way I approach wave riding, I don't really need to have that. But I think you make a good point about it's like another arrow to have in your quiver for when the day calls for it. But it's a good question. Jakob, at Tree Hat J asks, who has been your biggest style inspiration, past and present? I guess that could mean film style, but also could mean surf style as well.
Oh, Morgan Messon is my all-time like inspiration for surf films for sure. When I was growing up, Chris Burkhardt and those guys doing a lot of the cold water stuff were definitely the biggest influence on why I wanted to do what I do now. And then after living in Canada, there's a few really, really cool guys out there shooting the cold water stuff, who are just so dedicated and create beautiful, beautiful imagery from the west coast of Canada. So there's a bunch, but they're all like rooted in the cold water culture and like the rugged and like kind of far away places.
Love it. And the last one we have for Isabella is from, sorry, my screen just went funny, at Xander.Nichols, who asks, what's it like being an absolute legend?
So for context, Xander.Nichols is actually my brother.
That makes it even more impressive, I think, for some of us that have siblings. Like, I don't think I'd get asked that question. Yeah.
Mate, you're the biggest legend. He, as I said before, he's doing a road trip from Sunshine Coast to Margaret River, and that's like my dream trip. So in my eyes, like my sister and my brother are the legends. I'm just the one that floats on a piece of foam on water. And they're doing cool stuff like saving lives. My sister's a paramedic and my brother's traveling the world. So I don't know how to answer that one. Only just to say that's a good stitch up. I like it.
It's well answered. And thanks to everyone that wrote in at the lineup, excuse me, on Instagram. We're now down to our final segment for both of you. This is the lightning round. So these are 10 questions for you to answer as quickly as you can. What I might do is go question, Jakob, Isabella, question, Jakob, Isabella, if that's okay.
No pressure, Jakob.
You get the little bonus. The talent gets a little bonus time to think about their answer. All right, Jakob, if you could only have one surfboard setup for the rest of your life, single fin, twin fin, thruster, quad, bonzer, or finless, which would you choose?
I'm very much into single fins right now, so that would be the one.
Isabella?
We're getting the same questions. Okay.
Yeah.
I think I'd have to go with a thruster because I feel like they're very versatile.
Okay. Jakob, coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Bella?
100% coffee.
We drank a lot of coffee those 4 days.
Oh.
We had an air press. Yeah, we smashed the air press.
It was just Kurt's role was just like pressing AeroPress into our mouths to keep us going.
Hey, it takes a team. Yeah. I like that. Jakob, burrito or pizza?
Burrito.
Burrito.
Bella? Okay. Very consistent. Jakob, the last book you read?
Oh my God. The last book I read it's called The Curve of Time. It's like a Canadian storytelling piece. Yeah.
Cool. Bella?
The Housemaid's Secret.
Okay. Jakob, best surf film ever?
Oh, that's a good question. I watched a surf film I don't know if this is like a famous surf film or not. It's called Step Into Liquid. You know it?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, that was one of the first surf films that I watched, and that was kind of, oh, this is so cool. This is what I want to do. Great music score. Everything was just fantastic. So Step Into Liquid. Yeah.
Good answer. Bella?
I'd be biased if I said Nordborn.
Oh.
But if we take that out of the equation,
It's implied.
yeah, well, okay, Nordborn. But my favorite film growing up was Nike 6.0.
All right, Jakob, what is one wave you never have to go back to?
I don't know. That I never have to go back to.
Sure. Not everyone has an answer. I should be fair.
No, I want to
answer
this one. I mean, I surfed Huntington Beach once, and it was so much current, and I was just paddling for like 3 hours, and I just felt so defeated. I was just by the pier, just like trying. I always like wanted to go surf there, and it was just a horrible experience. But I mean, I should go back and conquer it. But that was just a bad day.
That wave's come up before. Bella, what about you?
Pretty sure that wave's come up out of my lips.
Oh, yeah?
And as you were saying Huntington, I think I was also thinking Huntington as well.
Oh, no way.
But the thing is, the question was, what wave do we not have to go back to?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I may have to go back there.
Fair.
But the place is lovely. The wave is difficult.
It can be a hard hang. All right.
Yeah.
Next question, Jakob. If you only get to surf one wave for the rest of your life, and you can dreamcast it, it can be perfect conditions. You can have board short temperature water where at your home break, whatever you want. Which wave would it be?
My favorite wave is, I think, surfing off the west coast of Canada, and Tofino is kind of my favorite destination for surfing, and I kind of can't choose a wave there, but just the general vibe there is that's just what I'm about. So that would be my favorite destination for sure.
Awesome. Bella?
4 to 6 foot glassy Honolulu Bay with no people.
I like it. That was very specific. Jakob, best person to share a lineup with?
Oh, this is not a quick round for me. This is so slow.
Hey, it's quicker than most, so to give yourself some grace.
I love surfing with my brother back home. I think that's something special, and being on your local wave and hanging with your homies back home, and then the guys that you grew up surfing with. So I would have to pick my brother.
Very cool. Isabella?
I'm gonna stick to a similar route that Jakob did. I'd say going surfing with my dad and my brother. Doesn't happen very often, but when it does, it's like the best feeling in the world.
I love it. Next question, Jakob. Who's the worst person to share a lineup with?
My brother.
That comes up. What about you, Isabella?
I think last time I also said my dad, because I always feel like I don't even waves.
Yep, that came up. That's good. That's a nice symmetry to those questions. Last one, Jakob. Finish this sentence. I will next achieve a state of happiness by...
I think for me, it's about... So I was lucky to... we had a son last year, and seeing him, like taking him through the joys that I've had living on the ocean, that's what I'm most excited about my future, and that's what I'm thinking about all the time. So if it's surfing, if it's fishing, if it's anything, it's kind of just like leading him into this great way of living. It's gonna be the ultimate happiness for me. Yeah.
Very cool. And same question, Isabella.
In keeping with the theme, I think learning how to slow down and being okay with it, I think that's when I'll feel my happiest.
Sounds great. Both of you, Jakob, Isabella, it has been awesome to talk to you. I'm really excited about the film coming out, Nordborn, and looking forward to catching up down the track.
Thanks, Dave.
Thanks so much for having
guys.
us.